mind if I do?
Covino and Rich.
Are you ready? Honestly, how do I deal with you every day?
Get ready.
Heard all about it on the radio.
Get ready.
Whoa! Yeah!
Holy mother nugget! And holy mother meatball!
I'm the smartest man alive! You're so ridiculous. What? You're such a fool. Get out of here.
Oh, I'm a disc jockey.
What's a disc jockey?
Turn it up. Turn the show. Here we go. Covino and Rich.
Let's go!
Yeah, boy! All right, welcome to a very special Covino and Rich special.
Yeah.
Something we're calling Flip the Script. What does that mean?
Oh.
Well, usually we're the ones doing the interview. But on this special, what makes it extra special is we're the ones being interviewed.
Oh.
And you know what? The script.
When we flip the script, I'll tell you what, Covino can't handle it because he wants to take over and lead the interview, and it's like, no, dude, sit back.
No, he's right. It's
Relax.
rare. It's rare, but it does happen from time to time. So stick around. You might even, maybe if we could find it, even play the first time we made a TV appearance and got interviewed.
Can't wait.
But first, we be rocking out. Let's go.
Now, one of the
Flipping the
many stops along the way.
Along the way.
Come on, hit me with the high part.
Along the way.
Nice. ESPN.
Yes.
Sean Wyman, super agent, hooked it up. We started by doing radio. And I saw this the other day on a Facebook memory, and it baffled me. There was a time where we did Monday through Friday, Sirius XM and all the stuff we do. And then Saturday and Sunday, we did 4-hour radio shows for ESPN.
And we were allowed to do that because they had a partnership with ESPN.
Dude.
So we did 4 hours on Saturday, ESPN Radio, 4 hours on Sunday, ESPN Radio.
I mean, hold on. When you do keep in mind that we do a Patreon and Fox every day, it does add up also. But
ESPN Radio was boring.
Boring.
It was tough.
And, oh, geez. But, hey, we had a fun run at ESPN. There were highs, there were lows. But I do remember you and I sitting down, and they had a whole setup. Like, it was like a legit setup, right where they would have, like, the pop and shot basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yes. This was at LA Live ESPN where we did our show Now or Never. And since we had the new TV show there, they wanted to feature us in something called ESPN Role Players. And it's an exclusive interview, and here's why. 2 reasons.
Yeah.
Did you guys wear like costumes?
It wasn't meant.
Yeah.
No, it's not that kind
I
of role
dressed, up
player.
as I dressed up as a Furby.
It's extra
It wasn't,
exclusive.
you guys were LARPing? Is that what it was?
Because
Live action
it
role
was
play?
never meant for the public's viewing.
I'm
It
a
wasn't
furry.
meant for your eyes. It was meant for internal use only, and you could watch it via the intranet. So anyone on the company computers would see, oh, Covino and Rich are featured on ESPN Role Players. Let's get to know these guys we work with.
Johnson, watch this video.
And it's also extra special because the only way I was able to obtain this footage was through our agent, super agent Sean Wyman. So throughout this, you're going to see his screen grab instant messages pop up.
Yeah.
What's he talking about?
Yeah, like his text messages, all of his notifications pop up throughout the interview. So don't be confused.
Yeah, it's not a glitch. It's just the only way we were able to obtain this video.
Anal tonight?
So again, we're flipping the script. Covino and Rich get interviewed, and we kick it off with role players from 2019, never seen before. Exclusive! Yeah! Enjoy. Hey, man. Hey, I'm Steve Covino.
And I'm Rich Davis from Now or Never.
And you're watching Role Players.
All right, what we're going to be doing here is asking each other random questions.
Okay.
I feel like I know most things about you, but
You should.
we'll see how we do. Some random questions. Do you want to go first?
Okay. Question number 1. What or who inspired you to want to work for ESPN? What always stood out to me as a kid watching SportsCenter or any news program was just the sound of their voice, like the reporter sounding broadcaster voice. And I always thought, like, I wonder if I could do that. I don't think I could do that.
You'll get there one day.
Yeah, one day I'll get there.
Maybe.
One day.
Isn't it weird, though, that we're like pals with like Stan and Neil and Linda?
Yes.
Real life anchor. There's still a part of me that's like, you're on TV, you're on SportsCenter. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm on ESPN, but I still don't acknowledge the fact that we work with these people.
They're incredible at what they do.
Let's see here. Where did you start your career? When I was a young warthog.
When he was a young warthog.
I was going to college upstate New York, Syracuse University, and I sent my demo tapes to, no joke, 50 to 100 radio stations around the country. Got 4 responses, and one of them was at Z100 in New York, which is the big pop radio station there. And that's sort of why I went the music radio path first, because when I was in college, I thought I was going to be a sports broadcaster.
Next Bob Costas.
Yeah. I thought I was going to be just like everyone else that went there, like the Mike Tiricos of the world. Europe.
Since you think you're the coolest guy on earth, what's the lamest thing you love? You know, it'd have to be yacht rock, I think. Yacht rock.
Yeah?
It's late 70s classic rock, early 80s classic rock.
Yeah.
I feel like it takes me back to my childhood. That was on the radio when I was in the back seat, my parents were driving around.
Yeah.
I'd have to say the lamest thing I like is probably yacht rock.
Even when you ask him to name something not cool, he names something relatively cool. Your ego is out of control.
I mean, is Kenny Loggins that cool? I don't know, but I like it.
There we go. Let's see what we got here. When was the first time you had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Now, see, this is interesting because it is a unique fact about me. Growing up, I feel like your parents sometimes brainwash you into thinking you don't like something. There was never Reese's peanut butter cups. There was never anything peanut related. And then as an adult, I'm like, I think I like, peanut butter and peanuts. I had never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich until I was 27. And let's just say, I'm 40 now. And the last 13 years, I feel like the whole first half of my life was a lie.
I was proud of him.
I had a lot of bologna sandwiches. Bologna on white bread.
We're not
Remember
surprised.
the salami that came in like the
Nobody's
plastic
surprised.
container? Yeah.
All right, let's see. This is brutal. You've been dumped for 2 professional athletes in past relationships. What if you were dumped for a Yankee? Would that affect you rooting for them? All right, I'll give you a backstory. I was with this girl for 5 years, and she left me for a New Jersey Net. I'm not gonna tell you who, because I'm not gonna promote that guy. Then I found myself another girlfriend, dated her for 3 years, and she left me for a New York Ranger. And I'm not gonna tell you his name either. Screw that guy.
If your current girlfriend left you for Aaron Judge or Stanton or one of these guys, would you be like, go Yanks?
No way. Yeah, my rooting interest would be done. I'm gonna have to join you on the losing side and root for the Mets.
Do you regret being a Mets fan? Do you blame your dad? You know what? I sort of do blame my dad, but here's my thoughts. My dad went to Fordham University in the Bronx, and he got his car stolen. And then he got his car stolen a second time. And he said, I am done with the Bronx. I am done with the Yankees. And he said, from this point on,
we root for the Mets.
forget the Bronx. Now, I feel like being a Mets fan has made me a better person. If I was a Yankees fan,
Keeps you humble.
I would be an arrogant jerk like you and every other Yankees fan that's
You
like
mean a
27
winner?
rings.
Mets fan.
All right, so something I've lived by most of my career so far. I'm not quoting Macho Man Randy Savage, but he used to say it. Oh yeah. The cream will rise to the top. I was told by a boss once, if you're a good person and you're good at what you do, you'll find a job and you'll find success.
I think what you're trying to say is what Macho Man said. I'm so proud of myself.
Why are we quoting Macho Man?
Yeah. I like to live by these words. It's hard to beat someone who never gives up.
And with that said, thank you for watching Role Players.
Welcome back to Flip the Script, our CNR special, where we're being interviewed. And those were my keto days, man. I was looking svelte. That's extra motivation. But I remember.
Where'd you get that outfit from?
Oh, I got that jacket from All Saints. It was an All Saints doozy. That's the one I wear in my profile pic. I love that one.
It's nice.
It's a good one. But I just remember feeling like the new guys there. And, we didn't know all the people at the time. But looking back, it's so cool to see, and happy that we did that, happy that we have that, and happy that we get the chance for you to see it.
You said it was internal video, right?
Yeah.
You know that someone was sitting at their desk like, who are these idiots?
No, they were proud of it.
They're like, we hired these idiots.
They loved it. You know why?
Someone in somewhere was like,
You know
who
how
are these
boring
guys?
the other ones are?
Yeah,
those
the other
spots?
one's like, we're profiling Margaret in sales.
Right.
Like,
Oh.
Yeah, no. So Now or Never, Role Players, Covino and
There's
Rich.
a
And
huge wobble collection.
we were interviewed by several people at ESPN. I remember Jeremy Schaap, the son of the very famous Dick Schaap.
yeah.
interviewed us, and you could find that on a podcast somewhere, but I was very proud of that too. But again, CNR getting interviewed, which brings us to something pretty cool, a show called Latin Nation.
Yeah, one of the perks of working with Covino is that anytime there's like some niche Latin programming, when they're searching for who's cool Latino guys or girls doing something fun, Covino always comes up. So on a number of occasions, I've even been on Latino shows like, tell me about Covino.
No, this is really cool to be embraced by the Latin community and to be a part of this segment. It's an honor. It's a feature. And this is the second time that we were featured on this show because they interviewed us in New York. Humberto Guida interviewed us for our debut on SNY. So our experience at SiriusXM and SNY. And then when we went to ESPN, they wanted to do another feature on us.
Not to be confused with your article in the Post where Rich had dictos.
Yeah, not to be confused with that.
Let's have there be no confusion.
Okay.
But here's our appearance on Latin Nation
2019.
Flipping the script.
It's almost showtime. Are you ready for this or what?
So pumped. We've waited a long time for this.
I know.
Let's go. Hey, I'm Steve Covino.
And I'm Rich Davis, and we do a show on SiriusXM, but a late night show starting on ESPN2 every night called Now or Never.
This show's behind a desk, right? Probably.
Yeah, Covino and Rich on ESPN now, which is huge because there's plenty of room for the hard-hitting stories in sports and the stats as X's and O's.
We're the lighter side of
Right, we're gonna have fun with this.
We met in the early 2000s. I was working at Z100 in New York, the pop station.
I think you had frosted tips.
I think I did have frosted tips. You were working at K-Rock, thinking you were like some rock guy.
Yeah, I am.
Covino and Rich are gonna love this.
We pitched a show to, at the time, Sirius Radio. Before it was SiriusXM, partnered up with Maxim Magazine, and they were doing Maxim Radio, and they were looking for shows that talked about sports, relationships, life, entertainment, and Covino and I said, yo, that's what we talk about when we hang out, so let's do this. So 15 years later, I guess it worked, right?
Yeah, and it's been a great experience, man. It's taken us all over the country. We've met listeners and friends all over the world at this point. We've had so many guests on our show.
I say boom, boom, boom. Everybody say Trejo. Trejo.
We started doing ESPN radio, and a lot of times they have us fill in for Will Kane or Stephen A. Smith or Levitard, a lot of these guys that you probably know, and they simulcast the radio and the TV shows.
Yeah.
So you see us doing our radio show on TV sometimes.
So this is completely different. We'll be doing our uncensored talk show on SiriusXM every morning.
Yeah.
And then every night we'll be doing a daily, like a completely different show on a cool set for ESPN2. Well, I pride myself on being every Latino's favorite white guy. I love Latino women, and a lot of my best friends are Latino dudes. So
That's true.
I feel like
he's trans-Mexican. yeah. He's like Miklo, Vato Loco forever.
So you know what? I got the tattoo.
Yeah.
So I think it is cool because when you have friends from different backgrounds and different cultures, I just think it creates better conversation, fun perspectives. Yet we're also similar, right? That's the thing too.
And you know what? It works because it's not forced. We've been friends for over 15 years. We've been working together. So I think that's why it's going to work. We have a great mix of people, and we have Janelle on our show too now, and she's great, and she's fitting right in immediately. So we're just excited to get this going, and we're excited to see the feedback too, because we know it's going to be different for other people. We're fans, and that's the perspective we're bringing to on ESPN. It's interesting when you think about it. There's a bunch of guys in suits talking to guys at home, wearing
that are not wearing suits.
That are not wearing suits. We're hoping that we come across that we're just like everyone else watching at home. We have similar opinions.
Because we are. Think about it.
We are.
We're watching the game. We're, you're sitting around with a t-shirt or sweats or jeans, watching a game with your buddies.
Yeah.
Checking social media, seeing what people are saying, laughing at what's going on at the game, really into it. You're right. And they have people in suits all the time analyzing it, where I think our perspective is a fun fan perspective.
Laid back fun, no suits, no scripts. We're not former athletes. We're just fans having fun, watching the games just like you, and that's really the point of it. So, we wished at one point we were professional athletes, but that dream ended a long time ago.
Ended after high school.
Yeah,
after high school sports, I had to hang it up.
So happy to be here.
Now or never.
Quiet on set, please.
What are you doing?
Tell them Monday through Friday. ESPN 2.
No suits, no scripts. It's now or never.
Now, this is extra special, by the way. It's Flip the Script, Covino and Rich, where we get interviewed, and this is a tough find because it's nowhere to be found online or anything. Our very first TV appearance. Nerves had to be high because it was WPIX 11, a network we all grew up watching. Channel 11, the logo was the Twin Towers.
True.
And that's where I watched my Yankee games growing up. And they called us in because they needed booty experts.
And when booty experts are needed, we answer the call. So this is probably...
It's probably cringy and embarrassing, so bear with us.
I don't think I'm going to watch. I'm going to dip away because this is cringy.
Yes.
But you know what? This has probably only been seen by one listener. Who has ever seen this?
Whoever was up in the morning live in the tri-state area.
Watching the Pix 11 morning show.
Exactly.
And I this like sits on my desk. It sits somewhere. Like I have a stack of just random stuff. I have the DVD, and it's just as BIX 11. Covino Rich. And it's just been sitting there, like not anywhere.
And you know what I remember from this too, though, Rich?
Online.
Entering that building and feeling like I was walking into the set of Superman or something. Like it was
with
like
the big globe.
Is this the Daily Noodle or something?
I
What is
do
this?
remember that.
It was such an old school New York City vibe, and nerves were high for sure, but excitement was there. Our very first TV appearance ever, we were interviewed about ash streaks. Take a look back, the early 2000s. Covino and Rich flipped the script.
All right, it's 8:14 all week long. We've been shining a spotlight on body image and race. Once again, we're discussing it, and we're focusing on relationships. So here's our question. When it comes to what men want, do certain races prefer certain body types?
Yeah, we're getting to the bottom of what men really think about this. So here with us, our panel of experts. Josen Cummings, founder of the website Until I Get Married. Also, Steve Covino and Rich Davis. You hear them out. They're hosts of Covino and Rich Show on Sirius XM.
Nice to have you guys on the couch.
Gentlemen.
Are you ready to chime in?
I'm ready to chime in on this.
All right, let's get this started. Is it a black or white thing? Do black guys like curvier women? Latino guys like curly women? And then white dudes straight?
You're the white guy, so go ahead, answer.
Yes. Look, a great example. Ice loves cocoa. I don't like cocoa. Like white guys like me don't need all that.
You don't need badongadonk?
No, not at all.
Why? Why? What is it?
I don't know.
Scared of it. He's scared of it.
Scared of it?
Too much for him to handle?
Yeah, it's too much. Too much, right?
Fear can be a factor.
So why do you think are you scared of it?
Yeah, I might be. I think I am scared of it.
Well,
I'm all about like a nice booty, yoga pants, thin physique. Like, listen, everyone owns their own body.
Yeah.
But I mean, he'll point out. I have black friends, Hispanic friends that point out like, yo, look at her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that?
Yeah.
It's like, bam.
Steve, you're shaking your head. You're going, no, bro, that's not how it
Because
is.
it's too, I think, urban and taboo and hip hop for him, where guys like me and black guys, they want to ride that like a hippity hop. You know what I mean? Like they want to get on top of that.
Sir Mix-a-Lot had it right way back when. Sir Mix-a-Lot
It's the
was
truth.
saying it.
I really feel that black guys like a big glistening cake. White guys like more of a pancake, like a like a flat pancake. Like someone hit it with a frying pan, like pow!
All right, Josen,
and Hispanic guys,
Hispanic men like it with what?
perfection, a little spiny.
With picante.
Okay, I gotta represent the Asians out there. Josen, for the Asians, I mean, come on.
I'm into thick women as well, but I think as long as it doesn't, as long as they're
It's
healthy.
Yeah.
Like
as
it
long as
doesn't
they're
ripple,
healthy.
like it doesn't ripple, or
No, it could ripple if that's what it's supposed to do. I think it's just a matter. I just think it's a matter of the woman feeling good about the body that she has.
I think it also comes down to when you guys are dating and what you thought was beautiful is kind of relationship to what your mom thought was beautiful. I know I'm getting deep right here. So whatever your mom was exposed to, if your mom said, wow, that's a beautiful woman, you might look at it and go,
It is a
socialization, and I think it comes from a different perspective.
From your mom, though?
From where you grew up.
From
where you grew up,
where you grew up and what you saw.
And what you have tried. If you have dipped it in a different flavor, you might be like, I'm going to go back for seconds.
I've tried all the flavors, and I just, to me, all right, for instance.
Be real, go ahead.
Yeah, like, all right. Black dudes and Hispanic guys, I feel like they don't think enough about the future when they point out these booties. They'll point out a nice booty, and I'm like, well, that's a nice booty.
Who's talking about marriage?
No, but he's thinking in advance.
I'm a good man.
Really quick, because I gotta go. Where do Asian girls fit in there? Because sometimes we can use some curves here and there, but we don't have them.
I think it's about a pretty face with Asian girls.
So never mind. Never mind the body. You're like, never mind the body. It's about the pretty face with Asians.
Yes.
An Asian girl with a nice little booty. That's,
do white men prefer Asian women?
I think they.
No, I don't think so.
You'll see more Asian women with white guys.
I think black men are more open to variety.
Yeah, I think black men are definitely more.
Ever since Linsanity, everyone's into Asian.
You guys need to come back. You guys need to come back. We got to keep this going because this isn't enough.
Because we haven't talked about Indian women either. I'm just kidding. I'm the one that represents. Woo woo. Do a Bollywood dance. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming in.
Flipping the script when Covino and I have been interviewed on shows.
You're flipping the script?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hold on. Let's see. Where is it? There you go.
Hey!
Oh!
I don't know how I feel about this.
I don't think I like
It doesn't look weird like that.
But it's a very special. We hope you're enjoying it. Feel free to tell your friends about our show. It's been a crazy journey.
By the way,
and throughout the years, we've made several TV appearances, but not often are we interviewed about our lives and, about us personally.
You know when you do a thing where like people, like they say you have a symmetrical face?
Yeah.
So people take one side of their face and flip it. I feel like the flipped set doesn't feel symmetrical. It's throwing me off. Do you notice?
Like something's wrong.
No, look, and I'm higher too. See, I always appear smaller. That's because that's fucked up.
No, it's the way the set is.
Oh, yeah, but that's messed up because that means I'm always looking tiny.
No, that means you're higher.
No, now when you flip it.
Yeah, but now
that means you're higher to balance it out.
Yeah.
Don't you get it?
No, I don't.
What do you mean you don't get it?
I don't get that.
You're usually higher.
No.
Flipping the script.
But yeah, my face looks weird. My eyes are off.
Yeah.
If I'm lower here, that means normally.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it.
Anyway, we've been interviewed by a ton of podcasts. We've done profile pieces, all that. But a lot of them are just audio. I do remember within the last couple of years, a dude was like, "Could I interview you guys?" And I remember thinking, for a dude that was doing sort of an up and coming podcast,
yes,
he asked us a hell of a lot of good questions.
Exactly, about our life and things that possibly you wonder about as well. So this is courtesy of the Jake Blanchard podcast. Maybe you guys missed it along the way, but I remember he went in depth with some interesting stuff. 2022 was the year. So we're going back 2 years, looking back to when we were interviewed by one of our listeners, one of you guys, on his podcast. Again, Covino Rich flipping the script, interviewed by Jake Blanchard on the Jake Blanchard podcast.
Steve Covino, Rich Davis join me today. They're the hosts of Covino and Rich, the best live podcast in existence. Their show had a 16-year run on Sirius XM's Faction Talk, and then last year moved to Patreon.
Are you doing that with your leg?
I'm not doing anything.
I'm sorry, dude.
Was there an earthquake?
Did you do that?
Do what?
That was that.
I have no idea what you're talking about. You just interrupted this guy's thing just to do that?
No, are you guys okay? Things okay over there?
Yeah, sorry, dude. I'm sorry.
That was great.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. No, you were rubbing this with your foot.
Why would you be distracted?
Because it was
Listen, fellas, I couldn't think of a better way to start this podcast with both of you here.
You're doing this beautiful intro.
Yeah.
Jake, and Covino has little bubble pop.
He's the only numbskull that heard it. He couldn't carry on. Thank you, Jake.
I know, LA is kind of Mad Max out there, fellas. So I figured I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was going on.
Welcome to Rich's Thunderdome.
For all we know, it could have been, some hobo in a tent outside knocking on the window.
It very well could have been, man. Very well could have been. Well, as I was kind of leading you guys in here, welcome to the show. I've been a fan, listen to you guys all the time on your various channels on Sirius. I was telling Steve, my son, we listen to Turbo all the time in the car. My son, he likes the breaks in between the songs because Steve talks, and when Steve talks, every now and then Steve curses a little bit. So my son's 8. He's sitting in the back of the truck, and I just see him sitting back there like Rain Man, just like shaking his head because he's just like fuck.
You know what? Let me explain this. And it's a pleasure to be on your podcast, man. I appreciate it. The Jake Blanchard podcast. Hello to all your listeners and everything. I stay consistent. Here's why. If we're going to play explicit music, right? I don't know if you have listened to the content or the words and the lyrics to these songs, but when 9 Inch Nails is on and the chorus is, I want to F you like an animal.
Yeah.
I think it's okay for me to sort of drop an F-bomb here and there. You know what I mean? Like I'm consistent. Whereas Rich, he plays really explicit lyrics hidden behind bubblegum pop music. And then like he's Mickey Mouse. But a lot of the songs that they play are sexually explicit, just hidden behind innuendo. So it's like, I just keep it on the same sort of level as the music.
Oh, 100. This is a conversation my wife and I go back and forth all the time because we got our favorites. We got our favorites there in the truck. So I'm Turbo and Octane, and then she'll pop it over to Pop 2K or Hits One or the Pulse or whatever it is, and she's just like, "This music is, you know." And I'm like, "No, baby, they're shaking their ass behind all of that. Like, come on."
There is a lot of like if you break down every pop song, there are explicit vibes. Like Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles, which is a big song last year. Watermelon Sugar, the whole song is about him going down on a woman.
And Rich comes out of that song like, it's pop to, what is it? I'm sorry, Sirius XM hits one, Rich Davis. Pretending like that's not the case. I know the content behind the songs I play.
Oh,
so
you're so real.
No, it's true. So I don't have to put on that facade. And it is an explicit channel. Now, do I keep that in mind? I do. Because when I'm in the car with my kid and I'm so addicted to all the things you do when you're going down on me in between the sheets. I'm like, oh man, I hope my daughter's not paying attention to the lyrics. You know, so I do keep that in mind. But yeah, my apologies for.
No, please don't apologize, man. It's a part of life. We don't nerf the kids at all when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's just that's language that people use, and you got to be able to either filter it or find a way to say it when Dad's not around.
Yeah, exactly. Jake, I always think that if you try to pamper your kids too much with that, they end up like Steve Covino ended up with boobs. Like his whole life, his mother covered his eyes, like, don't look, to the point where Covino, when he became an adult, it was a little overboard. Like I will curse in front of my little kids because I don't want them to hear it on the rare occasion and be like, what did you say? Like,
right. The more taboo you make things, the more interested kids seem to be.
Yeah. I think my challenge around this is I get a little creative with curse words sometimes. I'm like, God, that guy's a shit brick. And my kid's like, what?
Shit brick, Dad?
Come on. Like, what are you talking about?
Jake, I say, you're the full guy to he. Because there's no CK in there. It's just FUGG. Full guy to he.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so you got to be creative. Man. I'm with you.
Hey, well, fellas, a couple questions I wanted to ask you specifically. Like, shit, you've been in media a long time. You've been doing this for a while. You've been on various, very large stations and obviously satellite radio for a long time. The first thing I want to know is like, when did you know you wanted to do this? When did you know you wanted to be in media and entertainment? Did you have a defining moment? Did you just kind of like stumble into it? And you're like, all right, this is where I am. I'm going to stay here.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I went to college, my whole thing was like, I think I want to be on TV or the radio or something. Like I knew I wanted to do something fun in that space. But I recently brought this up, and I think it might have been one of the first times Covino ever heard the story. I had 2 internship interviews on the same day when I was a little kid. When I was like 18. One of them was at a PR firm, and not Puerto Rican Covino, public relations. And one was at a PR firm and one was at a radio station. And the one at the PR firm was paid. It was a paid internship and it was like a reputable place. I went there with my little oversized suit jacket on and a tie.
Your briefcase?
And my briefcase, like I was the wrestler IRS. And I went in there and it just seemed like, oh my God, do I want to do this forever? Do I want to wear a suit and tie and go to the office and, like, you're right, have a bag or a suitcase. And then I went to the radio station internship interview. It wasn't paid. They were like, yeah, you really got to just like fold t-shirts and give away bumper stickers. But the vibe there was just like, yeah, this is cool. And at that moment, I was like, well, I'm going to give this a shot because I really don't want to do that other thing. And I think that was the moment of clarity for me where I was like, well, if I could do this, I'll give it a shot.
For me, again, defining moment because growing up, honestly, aside from sports and playing sports, all I knew was music. That's all I knew. So when I went to college, Montclair State, and I realized I wasn't going to play baseball anymore, that was a short-lived thing in college. I played like one semester. I was like, well, what do I do next? And I'm like, I guess I got to focus on pressing play because it was the only thing I did. Sports and listen to music. So like I gotta figure out how to get an internship in rock radio in New York. And then I found out there was a college station. I didn't even know there was a college radio station. Just in passing, someone brought it up. I'm like, wait, there's a radio station here? Show me. And that was it. But it was the fact that I wasn't playing sports anymore. And I realized, all right, I got to figure something else out. That was the only other thing I knew. And I was really passionate about music.
You never opened up about your final baseball days.
It was horrible. Hold on. It wasn't that bad.
Were you just so like, because Covino, if you don't know, Jake was a great high school baseball player, always brags about his little league prowess back in the day. You went to college, played baseball, and then was it a rude awakening? Like, wow, I just suck at this level?
I was redshirted, and I've said this before, but what happened was I knew I was going to, get to play again if I decided to stick it out, but my grades were suffering. I was already on academic probation. So I'm like, I don't have to focus on my academics, I guess, which I never had to do in my life. Right?
You're at college. Like, how forgot about that part.
But Jake, I always knew there was a next season, and I always knew that I was going to play in the summer leagues in my hometown, right? In the adult leagues. Yeah. So in my mind, well, I wasn't done, but now I just got to shift my focus on something else. Right. And that something else was radio because I loved it. It was the only thing I loved as much as baseball and sports.
So, for you, Rich, like, what would you be doing if you didn't walk into that internship? Handing out bumper stickers, man. Like, what do you say? Are you a insurance salesman?
I would probably be in the entertainment space, but probably not in front of the mic or on camera. I'd probably be some guy working for a media company doing like marketing or sales or doing event stuff. Like I'd probably be in this world, just not on the performing side of it. Like, Covino, we go to events and it's like, hey, I'm John. I'm the guy that runs Nike. Like I'd probably be the guy that ran the marketing for some,
Are you saying
for some company.
You'd be the guy that runs Nike?
I'd be.
If I wasn't here right now,
you know what?
I'd run a multi-billion-dollar company. Yeah.
Just do it. The slogan would be "Just be a bozo." I don't think it'd have the same sort of success.
How does it sound? Just do it. I would be. Yeah, I would think I'd be in that world. Like I see, for instance, like I see our buddy Mark Zito, who had aspirations to be on the air. Right, he does a podcast for SiriusXM, but his main job is that he's like the events guy for SiriusXM. I would probably be doing something like that, whether it was at SiriusXM, maybe iHeart, maybe some other company, maybe, like I have friends that work as alcohol reps. So they do all these events and they represent like Tito's vodka or something. I feel like I'd be working in that world.
You know what? I feel like something similar along the lines of what Rich is saying. I didn't think to myself, well, I'm going to be on the radio. That's not what I thought. I just knew I wanted to work in that industry. Right. So I could have easily continued down the path of marketing and promotions, which is where I originally got hired to work in radio. I could have seen myself going down that path, but I realized that the other side of it was way more fun, so.
Fun fact though, Jake, Covino took the fireman's test, but yeah. I can't picture Covino wanting to put a helmet on that hair.
I was about to. I never took the test. I was very close to calling it quits in radio. And that's when the talk radio format came calling, and Rich and I started working together for Maxim Radio. That was around 2004.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were thinking of getting out of the radio space and then running into burning buildings?
Well, you know why? I'll tell you why, Jake.
Yeah, please tell us why.
I had just started to make my way on terrestrial radio as a producer and swing DJ. I was doing my own shifts for a few years, right? For a boss who believed me and would throw me those bones. I got a new boss who sort of brought his own people in and pulled me back and said, no, you're staying in the office.
So the progress I made
was taken away.
Sort of like Rudy.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, I was just making my way. I got to start all over again with this guy. I was getting old. I was like 27 years old, and I had to figure it out. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll take this fireman's test. And you know what? Like I said, a few months later, Maxim, SiriusXM made me full-time. I was already part-time at SiriusXM. They made me full-time for Maxim Radio, and that's where Rich and I started doing talk. We had never done talk radio before. All we did was introduce music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it seems that it's kind of, I don't want to say it's dangerous to be talking right now. There's more people talking over the airways than there ever has been in history, but
I know
I can't help but and bozos like myself out of my bonus room upstairs in my house in Idaho. The cancel culture, man, I see more and more about it. I'm fascinated with this whole Joe Rogan, The View situation. I actually listened to your episode the other day. Like, I couldn't stop laughing at you guys' take and perspective on it. I just kind of wondering, like, the last 16, 17 years, watching radio progress and evolve, or watching media progress and evolve. Are you watching your P's and Q's a little bit more? Do you care less? Like, what's your perspective?
I'll start and let Rich finish here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think back to the early days of our show, I mean, there wasn't an impression or an ethnicity I wouldn't go at, and have fun with. And that's how I looked at it, man. I'm from a town called Union, New Jersey, right? And it's just the epitome, as I say, jokingly, but the epitome of a melting pot. I grew up with kids of every race and every ethnicity. We all got along. We were all friends. That's all I ever knew, really, right? And being a half a minority myself, I was made fun of all the time, but in a joking way. So that's sort of the approach I had when we started this show. I would call out everybody, but in a way to make them laugh so that they felt like they were part of it. But with today's ultra sensitive ears, I had to back off of that because it could be taken the wrong way. So the impressions, the accents, the poking fun at, again, in a way to win those people over a wider and more diverse audience, I had to shift that and adjust that accordingly. There's more creative ways to do it, honestly. And we had to make that adjustment. We just had to, or else you get left behind. You become a dinosaur and you can lose your job.
Jake, it was, it wasn't just our show. I mean, we're talking top 40 terrestrial morning shows had guys doing like Indian guy impressions.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's the gay guy voice, or, hey, here's what a black guy sounds like. That was super accepted in the mainstream. And then, like, slowly but surely, I feel like very quickly, it was like, no, none of that anymore. We used to do Lee jokes, like a running joke about things would have the last name Lee, and it would be an Asian guy, like Curious Lee. And it was fun and all good fun. Asian listeners would hit us up saying that is hilarious.
And we viewed that as a way to have fun with our Asian listeners, have fun with our Black listeners, have fun with our, Hispanic listeners. And, we realized that, somebody could take it the wrong way. If there were new ears listening, even a potential employer who really didn't know us well, where we were coming from a fun loving place, could take it as a I don't know, as a divisive,
offensive opposed to in good fun. Keep in mind, when we started working for Maxim Radio, Sirius, it wasn't Sirius XM yet, it was Sirius. We were encouraged to have young women on our show and ask them dirty questions. Like, it wasn't like us being, hey, like, let's be shocking.
A different time. The mistake would have been, Jake, if we continued to do that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like, who says it?
You have to evolve.
What comedian says, like, there's a line? Is it Bill Burr?
Yeah. No. It's
Jim Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries, The Envelope.
Comedian Jim Jeffries talks about how comedy, your job in comedy or radio or broadcasting, when you're trying to do, any form of comedy or getting laughs, there's a line. You try to push that envelope and toe that line. The line keeps moving. The line just moved throughout our career. Like, we were told by bosses, interview girls and ask them sexual questions. Imagine now in 2022, if your boss was like, yeah, have women on the show and ask them sexual questions. That didn't even perk your ears up in, let's say, 2004. It was like, okay, boss.
Yeah.
Right. So
again, you had to if you don't evolve, you become the dinosaur. We did not want to become the dinosaur, you know, and early on, we used to fight the pussification of America. Anytime some sort of story felt a little soft or a little lame, we used to fight that. And then we eventually realized that
by fighting, you look like a caveman jerk off.
Right.
And, you and I always reference the same guy. A guy we work with at Sirius XM, Rude Jude, who's on Shade 45, one of the hip hop guys.
Warp.
What's
up, Jake?
Rude Jude said something once, and this is a guy that's known to be, he's known to be like a controversial, fun guy. Rude Jude.
Jake the Snake.
Jake, this guy Rude Jude is, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, I ain't it's not worth it. I'm like, what do you mean it's not worth it? He's like, yo, I'm done saying possibly controversial stuff. Cause he's like, I'm not getting paid extra or getting props for when I do it. And if I do say something super controversial and upset someone, what am I going to lose my job? Fuck that. Like,
There's ways to express
there's
your
ways to express
opinions,
it, but like to
without
take like
being a jagoff.
to take a crazy harsh stance on something now is just not worth it. In fact, I want to read you a text I got. I want to read you a tweet I got.
Please do. And let me say this, Jake. By no means does that mean that Rich and I are disingenuous.
Yeah.
Nah. You just made the adjustments. We still have the same opinions in a lot of ways, but we've made adjustments, right? And we have changed our thinking in a lot of ways. But by no means are we, playing playing an act is what I'm saying.
You have to.
It's just we evolved. We grew up a little bit.
You just have to be smart and choose your words carefully. And some would say that's soft, but some would say, hey, listen, you know what my priority is? Making money and having a roof and a house and things for my kids, right?
This way, we would have never been on ESPN if we continued doing some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Let me read you just to show you how the sensitive ears of America are. On Pop 2K the other day, which is the 2000s pop channel on Sirius XM, family friendly. I'm talking out of a Kanye West song. And the news story was Kanye West is using homeless models on Skid Row here in LA for his fashion show. So Kanye West is using homeless models for a fashion show. Now, that sounds an awful lot like when Zoolander, in the movie Zoolander, when they did the Derelict collection and they used homeless models.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, this Kanye West, stronger, Pop 2K, much like Zoolander back in the day, the Derelict collection, Kanye's using that. So I made a reference to it. I got a text message, a tweet, also tagging the company I work for, an attempt to probably try to get me in trouble. Right?
Cancel Rich.
Hashtag cancel Rich.
At Rich Davis, your Derelict joke was super tone deaf. Might be time to educate yourself about the homelessness crisis in Los Angeles. Shame on you. So things you say that you think are like, how could anyone not, as you know, as a broadcaster yourself, Jake, it's
you're walking a tightrope.
It's tricky, man. It's tricky because you don't want to be a big puss, but you don't also want to lose your job.
Yeah, the thing I struggle with, I'm a business consultant during the day, and then I change into a phone booth and hop on the podcast later in the days, and I get really nervous sometimes because I feel myself pull back because it's like, man, if a potential client or if an actual client heard me say a thing and they take it out of context. Maybe I actually hurt their feelings. Maybe they're recreationally outraged, but it can really impact me as a business owner, as a person who puts myself out there. So, I mean, I guess
as a white guy, you got to be extra careful. No, I'm serious. Hey, dude, don't you think I lean into my Mexican side a little more because I get away with a little more? Of course.
Yeah. Earlier you said that you are half minority, and I was like, I don't know. I think I don't know if you can be half.
I am.
Lean in.
The bottom half is the Italian sausage. Top half, you can see. Very Latino looking. My mom is from Mexico. My mom's Mexican. Yeah. And my dad's a mix. He's Italian, a little Irish, but he claims Italian.
And Jake, to piggyback what you were saying, anytime you probably deal with a client or anyone, it could be a business drink, a lunch, a meeting, anything.
Yeah.
If politics, COVID, anything comes up, you're probably tightrope walking and being like, ooh, let me make sure to feel how they feel and not even try to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, and geographically as well, I've traveled a little bit during COVID. You go into these different cities and like people that you thought you knew before, or all of a sudden they've got all kinds of new idiosyncrasies and things that you have to do. And like all these kind of social norms that are, geographically appropriate. Like I live out in, rural Idaho. I think COVID's been gone here for at least a year. We don't wear masks in restaurants and do all the things that everybody else has to do. And I look at the news in LA and it's just like, all right, put your spacesuit on before you go to Arby's. It's like,
by the way, Arby's sounds terrific right now.
I haven't had Arby's in forever.
No, Jake, you ain't kidding. I spent, Covino
why they call it Arby's, right?
Why?
Roast beef.
Yeah. RB.
I don't know. That's
I heard that somewhere too.
I don't know.
Well, I spent a lot of time. Covino spent time in Idaho. I spent like 6 months living in Texas while my house was being renovated. Compare Texas to LA, it'll blow your mind.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%.
It is another planet. You're right.
how do we get so different? I mean, I think that's it's an interesting question to ask. And I think when we go back to I think the underpinning of the question, which was how have you seen this evolved, or how might have you changed around this? It's like people have, because they're on social media, because they're putting their opinions out there, and because it's easy to get upset. Like I guess how much of it do you really take seriously? It sounds like you have to kind of take it seriously, because even if somebody's recreationally outraged, they could put a stop or at least create a wave of cancel culture.
Yeah. I mean, look at a guy we used to work with at SiriusXM. Well, still work with him. We're Jeff Lewis on the Andy Cohen channel.
Yeah.
I saw an article the other day about how his daughter, I'm laughing because it's a ridiculous story. His daughter was like rejected into like a little kid private school because the teachers and faculty like don't like what he says on the radio and stuff. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, he's like, and he's all outraged. He's like, you're going to reject my daughter to this private school because you don't like my sassy stance on things? Like, it's wild.
It's a wild where we're living in, man. We were talking about parenthood earlier as well. And Rich, you've got a podcast going in the parenthood space. I'd love to, with Nicole Ryan, I'd love to hear the kind of the start of that.
Yeah. You know what? They, SiriusXM wanted to do more podcasts using some of the music hosts. And at first they were like, do you want to do like a show talking about like the Pop 2K generation? Like, do you want to do like a weekly podcast about the 2000s or something? I'm like, I don't know, because they were asking, I think, like Stormy Warren to do like a country podcast, Mark Goodman to do like hey, why don't you do like an 80s throwback podcast? And the more I thought about it, I'm like, I mean, how many references to bootcut jeans and what's up could I say? Like, I was like, this is sort of like not the right idea. They're like, who do you have chemistry with? And at the time, I'm like, well, Covino, I already do Covino Rich with him. Who else? I'm like, well, when I worked with Nicole, we had great chemistry. So Nicole and I realized that when we talk, most of our conversations had to do with our kids or like relationships and sex and stuff. So we said, let's try this. And they're like, all right, let's do it. And we do it every week. It's an hour, very little commitment, but people seem to love it there. So yeah, we get a lot of feedback on that.
Yeah, no, I just started, as I was preparing for this, I started sampling it and then I dove into a couple episodes, man. And it's good. It's real, right? I mean, it's not
for real.
As far as parenting goes, it makes me feel better.
I always tell people, I say, if you run out of, if you're caught up on Covino and Rich and you're all caught up on everything we're doing, it's like it's almost like a sister show, because it really is the life we're living behind the scenes. Like being as you know, being a dad is that's a whole show in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing too. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but like my kids, and as they mature in their interaction with technology, actually, it just scares the shit out of me, man. It absolutely scares the shit. Like my son will get up and he's like, hey dad, can I watch a little YouTube? And he says YouTube, and he might as well be saying you porn. Like, I'm like, no, you can't watch anything on YouTube, man. Like, and he's like, it's just Mr. Beast and trick shots. I'm like, I don't care.
Mr. Beast sounds perverted. Yeah. Mr. Beast sounds questionable.
Mr. Beast, Fortnite. Man, Mr. Beast has a full episode. He just gives away islands and Lambos, and like apparently my 8-year-old likes watching it, man.
It's very tricky to navigate that stuff. I know, Covino, your daughter is a preteen, and the whole, hey dad, hey mom, could I get on social media, is a question that's probably very close for you soon.
Yeah. Oh no, it's like, again, it scares me. I'm like, no, there's no one there. Did you go into exile? Like, I don't know how to manage that with my kids, man.
Well, again, like our previous conversation about the evolution of the show is finding that balance, right? And we struggle with that as parents, because we often talk about, well, you don't want your kid to be the weird kid that's sheltered and doesn't know anything about, having a tablet and watching YouTube videos. And you also don't want your kid overly exposed to the trash that's on there, So it's very, very difficult. Like my daughter's 12. So yeah, she's on social media, but her pages aren't public, that sort of thing. You just try your
compromise.
best. You try, exactly, to find a compromise that works for everybody. But, good luck trying to keep your kid away from that thing. Because even if you have a specific set of rules that your household runs by, their friend is probably exposing them to some terrible shit that they have,
Yeah, I think back to my childhood, man. I grew up in a small town in Alaska, and there was nothing else to do. Like, we just, except for find the end of the internet, or at least when the internet was available, or do go out and get into trouble. And it's like, yeah, my kids, I guess they're going to have to go write their own path as well.
Exactly.
Well,
Yes, it's tough.
Jake, kids are resourceful the same way. Like Covino just brought up a good point. Your parents could have said like, Jake, you can't play
no drinking.
You can't play Xbox, or you can't drink, or
no
you can't
nudie magazines.
No nudie magazines.
Boobs of the devil.
Yeah, all it took was going to your friend's house, and his parents had the Playboy channel, and like his parents had a liquor cabinet, and they would be out bowling. Like,
They'll find a way, man.
I had in 6th grade. I had a good friend of mine. His parents owned a video store.
Oh yeah.
So we were 12 years old. We would like go into the video store and like get candy, and then we would walk into the back and go find all the weird, the movies that you're not supposed to be watching when you're 12.
Behind it was either it was saloon doors or like those beaded curtains.
100%. Yeah, we had little access to that. But again, I guess I turned out fine. Right?
Yeah, I always think that too. Hey, listen, they'll probably turn out fine, but man, it's scary.
Yeah. Hey, well, I know that you we're a little pressed on time today, but the thing that we're good. I really want to dive into the whole sports thing as well. One, like you guys were ESPN, you're on Fox Sports now.
Yeah.
Correct. How did you make the jump from, have you always been, I know you're passionate sports fans and things like that, but like, how did you make the jump and say like, I really want to focus on a show that's specific around sports, or I want to talk through sports a lot more?
Well, remember our brand initially started from Maxim, right? Maxim was a lifestyle brand.
Yeah.
It was women. They said women and sports, which is really relationships, sports, entertainment. And sports was always something that Rich and I
beards, motorcycles.
Keep in mind, Covino was redshirted at Montclair State, baseball
star.
Keep in mind,
I had 27 Little League home runs.
So,
all right.
Oh, shit.
When you have stats like mine,
when you're the kid, when you're the kid in Union, New Jersey, that's known for scheming all the other kids out of their good baseball cards, then you give a sports background.
You think to yourself, I could do this. But part of our daily conversation always was, always came back to sports analogies, updates on sports. We've always had a liking of sports, but as fans, we never claimed to be the experts. We claimed to be the everyday guy who just enjoyed watching the game. And it turns out we're at a Super Bowl party in New Orleans, and a guy approached me who happened to be a longtime listener, and he handed me his business card, and it had that ESPN logo on it. And I'm like, oh man, I'm putting that one in my back pocket. And I'm not losing that one because, we had our eyes set on that in the future. I mean, that's a dream job, part of the evolution. All right. So we kept in contact with the guy, and he was a cool dude, became our friend. And as he climbed the ranks and climbed the ladder at ESPN, he got us into bigger meetings. That's sort of how it happened.
Jake, what's interesting is that
by the way, shout out to super agent Sean Wyman. He's our agent now.
Yeah. He's our agent now. He used to be an ESPN executive. What's interesting is the whole Barstool brand, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, Portnoy and those guys, they have made millions of dollars. They have, taken that to a level that I'm sure they probably never even thought they would take it to, right? It's they're a Penn stock, they're a publicly traded company. I feel like Covino and I were always along that same trajectory. We just didn't have the backing or the promotion or the
it was the blessing and curse of being in the SXM bubble.
Yeah, because we were in the SXM, Sirius XM world, and we worked for another company, and we never had the ambition or the drive that they had to be their own business owners and start a newsletter that turned into, but we were always in that pocket of, we love sports, but we're guys just sitting around. Like, think about it. Barstool's whole gimmick was that like they're just like real guys talking about sports. Barstool. We would always say like, yeah, Covino and I are like just like what you talk about when you're hanging out with your buddies at the bar. We always thought that sports was misrepresented in that all of it was like suit and tie, over analytical, like
mustaches,
X's and O's.
Guys with mustaches. Like
they made something fun and entertaining that we're at home drinking beer, eating chips, watching into like something really nerdy.
I always thought it was, we always used to say it was weird that the guys that would be on sports networks didn't look at all like the guys that we were watching sports with.
Right.
So we always took that same stance. So at one point someone said, we always had sort of that Barstool, but not as crude vibe. That was how, we always thought we were. And, ESPN came about. And before that we did SNY in New York and now Fox. So our whole angle is like, I'm not going to try to out analyze some person on ESPN or Fox, but I'll tell you what, we're going to have a funnier stance than them.
Yeah, it's funny. And I totally skipped over SNY because they gave us our first break in the sports world live from Times Square in New York City. Yeah. And that sort of gave us the confidence and sort of the proof that we could do this on a higher level. It just took a few years later to get there. But yeah, I mean, we always did it from the fan perspective, never trying to be the experts with the hottest take in the room.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And man, I can't help the NFL right now is every freaking game is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened this playoffs, man? It's just every freaking game.
Could they have asked for anything more? As if they weren't like killing it enough. Like these games, even from a ratings perspective, you've noticed how they're breaking records. Like all these games are 40, 50 million viewers. It's like it's unbelievable.
What's more remarkable about it too, though, is that we're entering a new phase, a new stage of the NFL as we, say goodbye officially now to Tom Brady. Like, think of who's in line. Guys like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Mahomes, like all these dudes, these young names, they're so exciting, man. They really are.
I saw
the
meme,
NFL is unbelievable.
I saw a meme earlier today. And by the way, what I was going to say, 6 games between divisional and championship rounds, 6 games are all decided in overtime or by a field goal in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it really was.
How could you ask for anything more? But I saw a meme that was like, well, we officially say goodbye to our childhood. And it was Brady, Manning, Drew Brees, Roethlisberger. It was like a picture. And I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, that was like a 20-year period of our lives. Like if you're 30, 40 something years old now, that was your life for a while.
But the future looks really bright.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And that's the coolest part about it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sad because I'm a Saints fan. And the Saints probably have a long rebuilding future in front of them unless they can get a quarterback. But otherwise,
your division could be the worst in the NFC. So honestly, all it would take would be a few tweaks. If you did get a quarterback and let's say you got a coach you wanted, like they're not far away. Anyone in that division's so bad.
Kevin James.
Get someone.
Get Kevin James.
Kevin James, by the way, I watched the first 20 minutes of that and I couldn't get through it. I'm going to give it another shot. Did you watch that yet or no? Kevin James as Sean Payton?
No, I didn't watch it.
Oh, so I don't know what to think of.
I'm on Netflix and I'm almost ready to press the button and I'm like, I don't know. I'm a Saints fan, but also it's over an hour.
Jake, I'll tell you what they do a good job of is superimposing Kevin James into Saints highlights.
Oh, really?
Like whoever does the editing, it'll be like Drew Brees. It's actual footage of Drew Brees like hoisting the trophy with his kid. And instead of Sean Payton, it's like Kevin James like, yeah. That's funny. Honestly, that is the one part. It's like,
I mean, when you think of the trash that we already watch,
why not? Yeah.
I think I'll invest in
It's an hour and a half. You watch it and we can make fun and have fun with it.
I could definitely watch that.
This is the push I needed for sure. Hey, as we're wrapping up here, man, typically when I have folks on this show, like I love to mine for, insights, reflection, perspective, those types of things. Your careers collectively in media, broadcasting, entertainment, you look back on it. Biggest lessons learned or things, perspectives that shift over time, just kind of, help us understand a little bit about how you think about your career thus far.
2 things come to mind. You got to outlast everybody, right? Which is what we did. Don't know how. We saw other people take different routes. We just never gave up. And it sounds cliche, but when Rich and I started together as a duo, we were just so dumb. We never thought that it couldn't work. We were just like, yeah, it's going to work, right?
Having the doubt in your mind that like this could fail is probably putting that negative vibe out there in the world. I know that sounds a little hippy dippy, but if you are constantly thinking about, how could this go wrong? Could I lose my job? Could I lose my house? If you keep thinking of all the negative shit, I really do think that you'll make it come true.
I mean, we've been in this business now over 20 years, right? And I still feel like one of the youngest dudes around. And we've been working together for 17 years. So there's got to be some truth to the positive outlook and positive attitude, right? And not letting that fear get in the way of your goals. And then the second thing is like the past year has been a major change for us, for everybody, right? With COVID and the pandemic, and Rich and I really had to pivot. But hadn't we faced those obstacles, right? We lost our ESPN gig. Our deal wasn't renewed because of the pandemic and budgets. And SiriusXM gave us an offer we couldn't accept, so we were sort of forced to move on. But hadn't those things happened, we wouldn't have our own studio. We wouldn't be doing our own thing. We wouldn't be our own bosses out of that bubble into a bigger platform, on our own in the podcast world. And we wouldn't have this Fox Sports Radio thing going on. So yeah, that all sucked in the moment. And it really seemed like a blow to our career and our egos. But hadn't it happened, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Yeah.
So, and you just got to make that work.
I wrote down 5 things, man. You know what you made me realize too, Jake? I think on my feet, bro.
Yeah, you do.
You said what lessons? And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I have one. And while Covino was talking, I wrote down 5 things.
Let's hear it.
I won't bore you. I'll make them quick.
Thanks for paying attention to my
Yeah, I know. Covino was saying some pretty good stuff there. So let's see how your 5 measure up, Rich.
Okay. Here we go.
Top 5. Well, you got to do it in your countdown.
Oh my God. Number 5.
Coming in at number 5.
Number 5. You may not think this, but you will meet and bump into the same people more than once at different places throughout different times in your career. So when you're going to send that nasty email, don't press send. When you're going to say something you don't really mean because you got let go or you went through a tough time or it's something at work, we have bumped into and met multiple people that have come around in different jobs. And like, oh, I'll never deal with that jerk off again. 8 years later, all of a sudden they're hired at the new job you're at.
Don't burn bridges. Yeah,
don't burn bridges. Like it's so cliche, but true. In the entertainment space more than ever, there's people we work with at Sirius XM that I never thought I'd see again in my life. Or, I worked with people at iHeart, Z100 back in the day that if I would have been like, yeah, fuck you, I've worked with them again. Like, so you're always going to bump into people in some type of professional setting. Number 2, if you're a good person,
terrible countdown guy.
Oh,
let's start at 5 and then go to 2.
Number 4. Number 4. As Macho Man Randy Savage once famously said, the cream will rise to the top. If you're a good person and you treat others well, it's so simple. People will want to work with you.
That's true.
There are people that you have a reputation of like, they are difficult. They're a pain in the ass. If you're known as those guys are easy to work with, they're fun to be around, they're not a pain in the ass, you're more likely to get hired and people want to work with you. And good things happen to good people. I truly believe that. Like if you are kind to others,
I agree,
it'll work out.
I agree. Great point, man.
Number 3, evolve. Don't be scared of new things. We have been victim of this. And I feel like if you would ask me what's our biggest fail along the way, maybe not embracing social media as much because we were like, yeah, who cares? When TikTok comes out, what is every 30, 40-year-old guy's instinct? Fuck TikTok. But you know what?
We should have been on it. Stare at boobies.
Yeah, stare at boobies. We should have been on it from day one. Every Gary Vaynerchuk always talks about, embracing new stuff, right?
Yeah.
Number 2, sometimes when you do get let go from a place, it's a great time to re-examine your priorities. And while this has all been a shot to our ego and, wallet at times during COVID, spending more time with my kids made me realize that unless it's like $1 million deal, I'm not going to be working morning, noon, and night anymore. The time I have with my kids means way more to me than that extra money.
Yeah, but really hadn't you did that in the past, you wouldn't be where you are.
That is true.
So if you're a younger guy, you got to fucking grind it out, man. You got to put that work in.
Yeah. But as you get, it's
the hard work you put in your 20s allows you to do that now.
And number 1, to go to the Tom Brady docuseries where he tells the story that we've all heard before of the Asian farmer, maybe. And the whole idea of when something good or bad happens to you in your life, to in that moment decide if it's good or bad, you don't know yet. As the old thing, maybe, like, hey, you lost your job, that sucks. Maybe, because you don't know what the next job is. Hey, that girl dumped you. Yeah, I'm miserable. Maybe. Like, and I really think more and more that you don't know. Like, for all I know, we could have been at ESPN and driven to downtown LA and I've been shot for all I know, right? And like, you don't know, you don't know. So maybe is the number 1 thing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that last point more. It's, your feelings are real, but I mean, the way that you process it and judge it long-term and the impacts that it has on your life and those types of things, like you got to withhold it and you just got to wait and be patient and not take it too seriously. So gentlemen, thank you so much for making time for me today, coming on the show, the Jake Blanchard podcast. I'm a fan, truly honored. For the folks listening, go to CovinoandRich.com. They got some Patreon links there. Click on it, subscribe to their show. Their show is awesome. And, obviously Sirius XM, Fox Sports Radio, all the other cool places to find these guys. And again, thanks for coming on the Jake Blanchard podcast, fellas.
Thank you, Jake.
Man. A pleasure, man. Thanks
Thanks,
nice talking to you. There you have it. A little flip of the script. We appreciate you guys checking that out. But yeah, it's always weird to don't do that. It's always weird to be on the other side of an interview. You don't know how many times I've had to tell Covino, relax, because Covino's like, well, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, that's not your job. You're the interviewee.
Yeah, but anytime I feel like a lull, I do want to jump in and start asking them questions.
I do as well.
That's my nature as a host, right?
As do I, but guess what? That's
the
not
interviewer.
Your job.
Right.
Otherwise, you end up taking over.
Right. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. We hope to do more interviews. And if you want to find more, just search podcast Covino and Rich, because we've been on other shows. Search on YouTube, but hopefully you enjoyed a look back at some of the times we were featured.
Oh, yeah. You know what? There's a couple that come to mind. One of our radio pals, Ryan Hoppy, does the Hoppy Hour. We've been on that a couple times.
Exactly.
You could search that. If you search
Felipe Esparza's podcast.
Felipe, what about
that's on YouTube as well?
Yeah. What about search WJPZ? They did that profile of me at my college radio station.
So enjoy. Yeah, but that's you featured. This is CNR.
No, but
featured.
I talk about it.
Yeah, but see,
it's not fair enough.
That's what makes this special.
All right. Well, hey, thank you guys. We appreciate you. Until next time, arrivederci, baby.
See you in the promised land.
Let's go.
And something Covino always says, I'll give him credit for this one. When we first started,
you're gonna do what?
I'm gonna give him credit because that's the type of guy I am. He would never give me credit, but I'll give him credit.
Very cool.
When we first started doing our radio show, we didn't honestly look at failure as an option. Right. It's ridiculous because we never did talk radio. Now, 10 years later, it's easy to say, oh, we had it in the bag.
We just had nothing to lose. We just didn't even think of it. So by
That
not even
was not an option.
not even an option.
Not an option.
Literally, not because we thought we were awesome.
Right.
We just went in there blindly, having fun.
People,
and I feel
people would say, how did you know it wasn't going to be terrible? And our answer was, no, I didn't even think of that. I didn't think of it. You know, in my mind, it had to work. I guess. You know.
You know what I love? I love getting behind the scenes of the two of you, who obviously have hit it big. You got millions and millions of people tuning in. I see why.
But you never
and
stop
these
pushing.
people are going to say, of course not.
Right.
You guys are fiercely competitive. You are loving every minute of what you do. What advice would you guys give to young people out there who are starting out, or to people who are already find themselves maybe in a rut?
I'd say, we kind of hit on it already, but create your own path, because there's so many people that, obviously say, yeah, good luck, which I find very condescending sometimes. Yeah, good luck with that. And I believed, I'm like, I could do this, because you could size yourself up. If you look at other people and you see what they're doing, you feel like you could do a better job. I feel like that was kind of how I always viewed things. I started from the bottom. Now I'm here. I really did. When I got into radio, into radio as an intern, right? And I was hanging banners. I worked in promotions. I was, at the concerts. I was just a promotions guy, driving the promotional van. And I didn't stop there. I kept my eye on the prize. I kept my goal, and that was to eventually be on the air. And I was discouraged many times. There was many times I was going to give up, and I was going to do other things. But, the opportunity came when I was ready for it. When exactly
timing.
The timing. When I was ready for it, it came.
How old are you now?
I'm going to be 38. Yeah, but so I'm 37.
How old are you?
I'm 34.
We didn't hit our stride, by the way. At least me. Until I was about
I don't think we hit our stride
Tell
yet.
me about that. I love this. Tell me about that.
But yeah,
what do you see?
I was a promotions guy, just trying to get any sort of airtime that I could possibly get to get my voice out there
Just
in
to
New
get
York
out
radio,
there.
just to get out there, just to be heard, because I admired that, and I was a music guy, and I loved talking music, and I loved what these guys were doing, and I never thought in a million years I'd be able to do talk radio. I would have never thought that.
Yeah, some people, that's what happens. But you broke through that thought. You didn't even allow that thought to stay with you, did you?
No.
And as you said, advice for people that are trying to get to where they should be and want to be.
Yeah.
It's very easy if you probably ask anyone, a business owner, a guy that invented some ridiculous product, a ball player, a rock star, there was some point where their dream seemed ridiculous to everyone around them. Like, hey, I'm going to be a rock star. Yeah, good luck, buddy. I'm going to be on the Yankees. I bet you there was some point where Derek Jeter said,
I'm going to be the captain of the Yankees. And someone said, yeah, good luck with that, kiddo. I always, this is a fun exercise. Go in a great neighborhood. Go to a place that has the most ridiculous houses and cars. I know it's all, material stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's okay. It's a symbol.
Go to those places and say, well, someone's got to live here. Why not me? So, eventually, people are going to get old, and there's going to be a new generation of people that have to live here. Wow. Why can't that be me? When you're in high school and there's a class of 200-something people, some of those people in your graduating class are going to do big things. Why can't it be you? You all starting at the same spot.
Have you always thought like this?
Yeah, I always thought, why not me? Why not me? Why not me? You go for an audition. You go in for a job interview. I used to think that with women too. I see a beautiful girl at a bar, I would say, why not me? Why can't I get her? I'm looking around, I'm like, these other bozos? I'm going to get her. Why not me?
Guys, did you hear that?
It's true.
Why not you?
Why not you like that?
Not to be all cliche, but you have to have a vision in order to make it a reality.
That's not cliche, because a lot of people don't have a vision.
But you have to, and then you have to believe it. And I also feel like we're fortunate too, because we did find our niche. So many people, wonder what their niche is. And I feel like if you just do what you love, that's it.